What if I told you one of the most impressive brand comebacks didn't come from a celebrity brand, but it came from a company that had been previously written off? Hi guys, my name is Deena Danielle. Welcome back to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Let's get into it. Today I am talking about Coach. We're going to talk about how they went from overexposed and declining to cool and relevant again. Honestly, their comeback should be studied. So to understand the comeback, we need to rewind. In 2013, Coach was one of those brands that could be seen everywhere. They had a huge, strong presence within different department stores. They had their own stores, they had outlet stores, and pretty much everybody wanted or had a Coach bag. And I got my first Coach bag in 2013. I still have this bag today. You can see it came in this dust bag, which I kept. It has the quintessential Coach logo, established in 1941. So the company was established in 1941 as a small leather goods workshop in New York. Their early identity was built around craftsmanship and accessible luxury and something that was durable. And I will tell you, this bag is very durable. I did wear it a lot when I was younger, and then it kind of went out of style. I feel like it's going to come back into style because fashion is cyclical. I'll show you the bag in a minute. Coach was never trying to be the most elite fashion house, the next Gucci or Versace or Louis Vuitton. It was more like an entry-level luxury brand, and they understood their positioning and they really maximized on that. By the late 90s and early 2000s, they exploded in popularity. Their logo bags were everywhere and their brand recognition really skyrocketed. So here is the bag. So this is a bag from 2013. It is the gathered leather bag, and you can see it has this Coach logo on it. So the reason they are called Coach, Miles Kahn, who ran the company along with his wife, was really into leather goods and harnesses, things like that. You can see that inspiration. This logo with a horse and carriage is a nod to travel and luxury. It represents the brand's dedication to luxury, travel, and coaches that carried passengers. The brand is often referred to as the original American house of leather. So this bag was from 2013 and it is made of leather. It has this zipper top. Inside it's purple, a little odd to me, but it's like royal purple. I believe this bag was purchased for a few $100s. Yeah, and I still have the original care card in the bag. So in chasing rapid growth, Coach leaned heavily into logo-driven designs and aggressive outlet distribution. The brand became overexposed. When everyone has the same product, it stops feeling special. That's just so true. When everybody has the Louis Vuitton Neverfulls, it's like, why do you want one? Consumers stopped seeing Coach as aspirational and more as common. At the same time, competitors like Michael Kors entered the space. Kate Spade, Michael Kors, Marc Jacobs, I see as Coach's top competitors, and they started in the 1980s, so much farther behind Coach, almost 40 years behind. However, they grew to recognition and prominence through the 90s and into the early 2000s. So during that time, those companies started to overtake Coach. Tory Burch started in 2004 as well, so she grew to prominence during that era, and there were just more options for entry-level luxury bags. So sales began to stagnate, their fashion relevance faded. They were kind of stuck between luxury and mass market. This is where a lot of brands fail. But Coach did something smart. They reset across product, marketing, and distribution. They refocused on high-quality leather products instead of mass distribution and logo-heavy pieces. Their strategy was on hero products that customers really love. So customers were really investing in design and longevity. Instead of chasing trends, which of course there is some trend-driven influence within the brand, they focused on strong silhouettes that were really going to stand the test of time. So what comes to mind for that, for silhouettes that really have stood the test of time for the brand, are Brooklyn, Joni, and the Tabby, and these come in different colors. They come in different materials and different sizes as well. So doing this reduced their production risk, improved inventory efficiency, as well as created product icons that customers could keep returning to. If you buy a Brooklyn in brown per se and you love it, it's a great everyday bag, you can buy it in the next size up in a different shade and use it for a slightly different purpose. You really are attributing a lot of lifetime value to that brand as a customer. Campaigns started to focus on youth culture and expressiveness instead of trying to be everything to everyone. So you can see this in their campaigns nowadays. They have the girl from The Summer I Turned Pretty. I have seen so many of her ads for Coach on YouTube, and they've just really partnered with those youthful actresses and culture creators that still have a large audience, but maybe a little bit more niche. One of the other things that they did is they pulled back from constantly discounting. They still do have their outlet stores, of course, but they have separated it more. So they have Coach and then they have Coach Outlet. The outlet side, you can still get a lot of discounted products. This changes the perceived value of the brand. They are mid-tier and really like entry luxury, especially for the outlet, but I'd say even some of their price points are reaching kind of that luxury status. They are consistently reinforcing the brand values of quality and durability, and also sharing the brand history. So the result of all this, and their coming back to prominence, increased their margins because they were able to elevate the brand, which meant they were able to elevate pricing, which meant they were getting better margins on a lot of their products. They renewed their cultural relevance. It just feels more intentional rather than overextended. They didn't try to completely rebrand and become a totally different company. They just took what they knew worked in the past and what they had been doing well and really emphasized that. This kind of proves that legacy brands are not doomed by decline or by market changes. It just takes a repositioning to become successful again and to become relevant in a very saturated accessories market. So I hope you guys really liked this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.